as we bring in the former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada, the most famous man from Oliver, British Columbia, Mr. John Shannon. How are you, sir?
Doing well. I finally got some sleep,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're a newsie, right? You're up watching election stuff? Yeah.
Well, between the two games, I mean, I was 2 games and watching the election. It was TV heaven for me. So why not?
Mm-hmm. Hey, did you ever have a conflict with Hockey Night in Canada, an election where you had to fit
you knew
the
no
hockey?
one was watching?
By the way, have you noticed how many elections ever occurred during hockey playoffs? Seriously.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Over the years, it's amazing how many times they call an election for April or May when the hockey playoffs are on. Because you know what? There's lots of eyeballs. There's lots of times to get reduced advertising rates because politicians and the parties get reduced advertising rates on the networks. And there's lots of people sitting there trying to watch the hockey game, and here comes 4 ads for 4 parties. So
I think I know the answer of a Canadian team play, but okay, so who wins last night in a head-to-head battle? 2 American games versus the election. Who wins?
Oh, the election wins last night. This was
like 2-1. What do you think? What do you think the ratio is?
No, not 2-1. You know, let's also remember the election's on 6 channels, not on 1.
That's right.
Yeah. Fair. Fair.
So, but the election overall, the election. I don't want to get into politics. But this was a different election anyway. So
I don't know about your dial, Shannon, but I got hockey on plenty of channels as well.
Yeah, that's true too.
Flip around. Anyways, congratulations to the conservative Helena Conans of Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay. John, your old federal riding there. Oliver, BC.
The ridings have changed since I lived there, so it's difficult.
Oh, the ridings have changed a lot. There was even redistribution and more ridings added. There were a couple of ridings there that had no incumbents because they were new ridings.
Right.
So, anyways.
We never wanted to be grouped with the Similkameen, for the record, okay? We always... we didn't. No,
I would say this.
We would literally say, why are we with Karamias? We want to be with Kelowna.
It is a hell of a big riding. I will give. I mean, it's not like the northern ridings, which are geographical swaths of their own but for a southern border riding, it is. There's a lot of riding there.
There's a lot of riding and a lot of car drives between.
That's it.
Princeton and Grand Forks. That's not a short hop, boys.
If you're campaigning that riding, I mean, you need more in the car. You almost need a PJ there. Fly yourself around, land in farmers' fields, and get out there on the trail.
I don't get paid to talk politics. That's not.
No. Hey, you told us last week you're not optimistic on Talk It. I can't imagine your optimism has increased given no news over the last week. Tell me how Mike Sullivan and Peter Lavlet, 2 guys that Jim Rutherford has hired in his past, strike you if the Canucks are on the lookout for a new head man.
Well, if I can get Mike Sullivan to sign me up right now. Come on. This guy's a great coach. This guy might be the best coach in the game, and might be the right person. And by the way, you guys know he understands the market a bit, knows the market, been here, done that. Was the interim coach after Torts went into the Calgary dressing room. At the same time, he's got tons of ties to the East Coast, and his son-in-law, Charlie McAvoy, plays for the Bruins. So I have my doubts, but as soon as the news got out of Pittsburgh, I did put Mike Sullivan on my Vancouver list. I'm not a Peter Lavlet fan. I'm sorry. I haven't been for a long time. And I just don't think Peter fits into what's going on in Vancouver.
Again, you're right. Sully's probably not going to be in Vancouver. But let me ask you this anyway. Like, Quinn Hughes loves Rick Tocchet. He wants Rick Tocchet back. Yeah. Would Quinn Hughes get over that fact if it's a guy with 2 rings on his hand like Sully?
Well, it's difficult to think. And I'm a Tocchet fan as well. But it might be an upgrade.
Mhm.
You know, when you think about it, when you think what Mike Sullivan and what his resume brings to the table, so yes, I think it would be very easy to get over. And whether Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin think the same way, I know that Mike and Jim are good friends, and it would make great sense if Mike could get over living in the Pacific time zone when most of his family's in the Eastern time zone.
Quinn Hughes, he's a Norris finalist. Does he have any chance?
I would say yes, but I do think the 15 games, I think it was 14 or 15 games he missed, will become a factor. And it's difficult, guys, it's difficult not to look at Cale Makar and just say Cale Makar does everything, and Cale Makar is the Norris Trophy winner in many ways. And I am a huge Hughes fan too. But it's reminiscent of my childhood when Brad Park used to have great seasons with the Rangers, and then Bobby Orr would win the trophy every year. And that's not a knock at what Brad Park did over those years for the Rangers. The same thing with Hughes. I do think if Hughes had played 81 games or 82 games, and the team had made the playoffs, I think it would be a different story. But right now, I think you have to give the nod to Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Although Cale's had a tough week here with the goals against.
But the voting occurred.
No,
in
the
the
barn.
No, of course, yes.
Was officially done on the 18th of April.
Yeah.
So,
My ballot was due a week ago Friday. So yes, the hay is in the barn, as they might say in Similkameen, South
I'm looking
Okanagan,
forward
West
to see
Kootenay.
when you post who your results are of all those trophies, and we're going to go through them on the show.
All right.
If I don't like his choices, we definitely will.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Hey, by the next time we speak to you, we will have conducted and all watched, and of course here I'll be disappointed by the NHL draft lottery. John, you're a television guy. What do you think of it as a property? Could it be better? Is it got great drama for you? NHL draft lottery on television. Go.
Well, I was the vice president of broadcasting when we put it on the air, when we started to televise it. And I have to give Mark Milliere and Steve Dryden credit at TSN, who said, we would love to televise the draft lottery. And I said, you guys are nuts. And then we went through it, and it got you 500,000 viewers in Canada at that point. And if you can draw anything for 500,000 viewers, and you don't own the rights to the games, it's not a bad product. So it will get you an ample amount of viewers. It's not great television, but it is a great story. And every once in a while, in years where there have been elite players like Connor McDavid, like Austin Matthews, it becomes must-see TV just for that 30 minutes. So in the end, in a world with a huge proliferation of sports and what sports brings, if you're a hockey nerd, and there's lots of us out there, if you're a hockey nerd, you need to watch the draft lottery.
It's funny, just watched the NFL draft on the weekend, 45 years on ESPN. And Pete Rozelle, the NFL commissioner, had the same reaction when ESPN went to him and said, we would like to televise your draft. He's like, what? You'd like to televise our draft? Guys sitting around a hotel
Announcing
bar room,
names?
smoking cigarettes, turning in cue cards with names on them, and look what it's become.
But this is this is an interesting draft lottery. Like I would love to see the ratings for this, guys, because there's no terrible Canadian teams. Nobody is bound to pick up anything of consequence here in this one.
Calgary and Vancouver are the longest odds on the board.
On the board, literally.
Yeah.
This could be the worst rated draft lottery in NHL history, I think. There's just no reason why. And the draft itself, no one's competing for anybody transcendent. So it's... and
it's a non-centralized draft, too. Everybody's...
Nobody cares about what the actual draft looks like when you're talking about the lottery. My only argument to you, Blake, is It doesn't matter. It will deliver the same amount of people every year. It just will. It will deliver you.
Well,
it's
because it's buried in covers. That's why.
It's a 500,000 viewer draft, and that's exactly what happens every time.
Well, and the one thing they do have going for them this year is at least they have big markets. I mean, they got Chicago, Philly, and Boston, all three with the amongst the 5 best chances to win. We used to joke about this here in Vancouver because we used to send Stan Smeal, franchise icon, Lucky Stan. No, Trevor Linden went, and then Trevor Linden was one and done. He's like, oh no, I said I'm not going to do that one again. Francesco is going to. They should make it mascots, John. Have the 16 representatives by mascot on the dais. Would that not be fun?
Be damn quiet. Would
that not bring a younger audience to the table?
I'd rather have the green men.
There you go. Super fan from every market. Bring a super fan on the dais.
Well, that's not bad. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
But maybe with the
NFL announces all these picks now with super fans. The 5th round, the Colts. It's Bucky from suburban Indianapolis up there shouting things into the microphone before hundreds of thousands of people and millions watching at home.
It's so cringy. I hate the draft lottery. Oh, we have to.
But what you're going to say, Blake, is who won it, and if all you have to do. If all you have to do is give up a half hour of your time to say who won it, then you're okay.
See, this is why I asked you the other question, though, is like this year, I won't. Like, I really don't care. I really, there's no transcendent player that fans are wondering who is going to be going where, and there's no Canadian teams. This year, don't care. Honestly, wake me when it's over.
Okay, well, at 9:00, whatever, it'll be about 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. We'll wake you up. So.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to be a television guy here. I'm taking a cue from my panelist. I guess we're going to move on from draft lottery here. Would you like to talk about the collapse of the NDP nationally?
I would
Blake?
not.
Okay.
I definitely don't want to ask that.
All right, because Jagmeet, he resigned right there on the spot after losing Burnaby Central.
No, we don't need politics here either.
All right.
That's even worse than the draft lottery.
We play in the sandbox, guys. Forget about that. I mean, if I wanted to be a political pundit, I would have paid to be a political pundit. I'm a hockey guy now. Come on.
Don't make him wait.
And Mansbridge isn't returning his texts either, so that just goes to show you where he stands in the ranks of the country's news people.
Yeah, well, he's probably talking to Andrew and Chantel, so that's okay,
So I'll take the freaking handlebars here.
Please
right?
go. I'm out of topics.
Can you believe how much discussion we have about a practice facility out here? And it sounds really crazy as I try to take a step back from the market and imagine what other people have. And yet, according to all the reporting, it actually means a whole lot to Rick Tocchet and the franchise itself. Jim Rutherford has been talking about how this is like near the top of the agenda list for him. But outside the market, can you believe how much talk there is about practice facility here?
I think that if you're involved with another NHL team, or have had people go to other NHL cities and see the setups, the answer is yes, I can. If you go to Edmonton, practice facility in the building. You go to Columbus, practice facility in the building. They're building the new one in Calgary, practice facility. Detroit, it's unbelievable. It's subterranean. The practice rink is directly underneath Little Caesars. When you're out there,
a secret underground lair under Caesar.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds biblical.
So when you're out there recruiting free agents, well, where's your practice facility? It is a factor, Blake. There's no question that it is a factor. The Pittsburgh scenario that Jimmy came from is fascinating because their practice facility is 20 miles from PPG Paints Arena, the Lemieux Ice Center. It is spectacular. Spectacular. The players live in the suburbs. They never have to go downtown other than games, and it works great for them. And the media have to come to them. That's where I think now. And again, when we talk about, you mentioned the NFL earlier, Matt. What hockey is, the amount of money that hockey is now making, even with or without tariffs, even with or without the Canadian dollar. If you're going to be a major sport, you need that level of context and you need that level of facilities to be considered a major league. I truly believe that. So it doesn't have to be downtown, but it has to be in a place where it's easy access for the players and additional beyond the rink. It's where all the physio is, it's much
so
more.
Blake and I have a debate, John, because there's the only vacant lot in all of downtown Vancouver is right across from Rogers Arena. Francesco leaned on the guy too hard, couldn't strike a deal there, so that's probably not going to happen unless they go back to the table. My point to Blake is, and has been for a while now, barring that site, you may have to go somewhere outside of the downtown core, somewhere outside of city limits even, to make this thing happen. As you know, it's the opposite here in Vancouver. Most players live downtown. Is Simon Fraser too far? Is UBC too far? Is somewhere out where there actually is available land in the lower mainland too far? Because while I agree it would be best to have it convenient in downtown, there is the example of the New York Rangers in Rye, New York, where most guys live in the city and have to make a trek out to their practice facility. Would that be feasible for the Canucks?
They're not in Rye anymore. They're in Terrytown. But yes, and by the way, the Knicks are there too. It's not as if this is a facility that is for all of MSG's teams. So you're right, Matt. I think that's something that they should be looking at. Now, I think Vancouver, without getting into another semi-political discussion, traffic and flow in Vancouver is another story for another day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's worse than New York City. It can't be worse than New York City. So,
no, you're not wrong. You are going the right way. But there are freeways in New York City. There are freeways. There's no freeways in Vancouver. Well, last I checked.
You call them freeways, but they're not often free.
No,
they tend to be
tolls and slow moving. Yes.
So to bring this conversation full circle, where there's plenty of room for a practice facility? Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenays. Let's hope Helena Conans has it in her wherewithal, her new mandate, to get something done.
Well, if everybody has a helicopter and would love a nice ride every day, yeah.
We're almost there, John. We're almost there in terms of the wealth of these guys. Let's just hop the PJ or the helicopter to
a practice facility across the street on the Expo site makes absolutely no sense financially. No sense financially. That's prime real estate. That's not where
it wouldn't be the only thing there.
It could be a big community.
John, it wouldn't be the only thing there. You put it subterranean on that tower, and it becomes a community center.
It's False Creek, man.
Well, no, but they don't need a good view while they play hockey. So you put a 30-story tower on top, and it's just fine. It's perfect.
I'm no builder,
but you like spending other people's money.
I do. But John, so they can cry about how they can't find partners, or they can write a check. The billionaires can write a check. So which do they want to do? I've got an idea of what they should do. And you know what? They can build it, and they can call it the Luigi Aquilini Community Center. And, 20 hours of the day, it's a community center where kids can go for a skate. And the other 4 or 5 hours of the day, it's there for the Vancouver Canucks. Like, yeah, there is a way that you can do this, and it might involve the billionaire spending some money, and I care very little about that.
Okay, so just to be the devil's advocate, if you're going to call it a community center, how much is the city going to put in?
Well, that's it. But the issue is that
because in Edmonton,
the Aquilinis have a bit of a reputation in this town in terms of the deals they make. So I'm not sure they have found the most willing partners. Honestly, the best site for it, the Jericho lands. If they're redeveloping those Jericho lands, that'd be an awesome place for it because some players live in Point Grey or Dunbar or Kitts.
Yep.
And for those who are downtown in Yaletown, it is pretty convenient. Okay, we got to run.
Here's the bottom line. If you build a practice facility, eventually the players will live close to it. So
very good, John. Absolutely right.
I'm not worried about, well, this generation is living downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? If we build it in, Marpole, if we build it in Kerrisdale, which
yes to both of those things, but there's a limit to that.
You know where we build it? We build it on the side of Cyprus. On the road up to Cyprus, we build it there, overlooking everything.
Cantilever.
Think of how spectacular that will look, and then the players can all live in West Van, and they wouldn't have to socialize with the rest of us in regular society.
That's more North Shore ice, so I favor this plan.
All right.
For the record, they don't socialize with you anyway.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
And
all right.
As I said, you two love spending other people's money. It's fantastic.
Yep. We're done here. Problem solved, Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.